Greetings, Guardians, my name is Bife here. Today we're going to be talking about some of the more fascinating elements of the Pyramid Ship in Savathun's Throne World, and it's going to be related, of course, to the raid lore, but of course it's also got other elements to it, because there can't just be one thing we're talking about inside that pyramid. It's all interconnected, and it's all very complex. So today, we're covering topics that in particular talk about the worms, their purpose, the experiments that have clearly been conducted by Rolk within the pyramid, and what may be his greatest success in this endeavor, the Caretaker, the first boss that you face in the raid. Really, this video is predominantly about the Caretaker, but the lore around it requires us to look deeper into the rest of the stuff happening inside that pyramid. It seems a little odd to talk about this next, but realistically, this relates to what the Witness and Rolk were planning, and it's a big deal as far as the future of the universe in Destiny is concerned. So, let's start with this. Very simple question. What is the Caretaker? Well, we can clearly see that it's a massive Scorn abomination, but it works with a degree of tact and sensibility and even intelligence that's not particularly common to abominations. They tend to simply be lumbering hulks that are designed as beasts of burden, terrifying and bloated by dark ether. It can be easily speculated by everyone, though, that the Caretaker is far more than just that. We discover this massive entity in the collection section of the raid where the second encounter begins, and I think at this point we need to start by talking a little bit about, well, the start of the raid, as well as what we see here in this next section. We see the Caretaker tending to this thing. I'm going to go ahead and call this, a Resonant Locus, I think. Or a Resonant Shard. Yeah, we'll go with Resonant Shard on this one. But it is a locus of dark energy, and you can see that it's got that same concentration of resonant energy that you'll see at the various other shards at Rolk. It's even got that same energy that's on Lubre's Ruin, his weapon, when he's wielding it. So it's very clear that this is a lot of darkness energy. But I think that this actually indicates a lot more to do with the Caretaker's role in the pyramid, and I think it's here that we need to go ahead and point out something that we also get not only in the Caretaker encounter, but also at the opening of the raid, and that is the knowledge buffs. In the opening encounter, you get these little pickups called Knowledge. Knowledge is used to power up the Resonant Shard, again that's what I'm going to call it, that we get at the very beginning, the sort of escort the payload type deal that you have to get into the pyramid. And of course we use this as a means of access for the pyramid at first, but in the Caretaker encounter we also get knowledge from entering the rooms at the back, where we have the various Taken Wizards that are guarding over it. That, combined with the Caretaker sort of looking over and inspecting that resonant locus in the middle, which again is kind of similar to the one that we had at the very beginning. I don't think it's the same, but it might hold the same purpose. It all kind of goes to show that these are stores of energy and information, and perhaps, considering the way that the resonant energy of the darkness and deep sight works, there's memory within there too. All of this is speculative, as is the nature of our understanding of deep sight at the moment generally, but it makes me consider the fact that the Caretaker is, as a result, playing a role in this place. They're not just worshipping this giant resonant shard. It's perhaps the fact that the Caretaker is a combination of different roles within this area. A joint curator, librarian, and security system all rolled into one, who has been placed there as a curator and guardian of the knowledge that Rolk has stored within. Of course, this further implies that the collection area is almost like a library or a repository of knowledge for Rolk. All of this, of course, is just a series of best guesses, but I don't think that this is something that's too far off the mark here. Again, totally speculative, but it's stuff we can draw from the environmental clues and from, well, the names of all the different things we pick up in the raid. However, what further guesses and observations we can make about the Caretaker also extend into the rest of Rolk's plans, and it's by investigating those plans that we can start to uncover some of the truly intriguing possibilities of what's going on with the pyramid and why the Caretaker is kind of an indication of how far Rolk has really come. To do that, we need to go ahead and head to the Enclave after the raid has been completed. After the raid was completed for the first time, a note was left on the evidence board for us, a note left by Mara Sov. That note reads as follows. While investigating the sunken pyramid, I encountered Scorn amassing in large numbers within. Regardless of how many of the wretches I slaughtered, more flooded in to take their place. With Rolk dead, we naturally assumed they would abandon the pyramid, but clearly they have other plans. Furthermore, they appear to be co-opting hive magics for reasons I was unable to decipher. Perhaps this is something to do with your ongoing investigation. I have not the time to stay and fight. More urgent matters called my attention away. This situation, however, should be attended to promptly, as the Scorn show no signs of slowing their advance. So, we know this from Mara, and this is what leads us to the preservation mission. This is kind of the catalyst for it, as well, of course, as Finch, who gives us a little prompt to go ahead and conduct it. When investigating the pyramid, it turns out that the hive magics in question involve a series of rituals that the Scorn are attempting to conduct, and they involve what are known as resonant runes, hive runes, but resonant nonetheless. I'm going to go ahead and make a note here that it seems as though almost anything labelled resonant outside of the Black Armory's context in this expansion should be noted as related, at least tangentially, to the darkness, the pyramid, the contents within, or maybe to Deep Sight. We get a little bit more context on all of this when we complete our mission within the pyramid and the investigation. The evidence board tells us the following when we follow up with it at the end. In your explorations of the pyramid, you've learned that the Scorn were attempting to increase their power by using resonant runes, stolen from the Lucent Brood in combination with worm larvae. Based on the reports from those who first entered to defeat Rulk, it seems these ritualistic experiments were a holdover from the plans of the Disciple himself. One hidden agent goes so far as to speculate that the Scorn caretaker was itself the result of a successful worm fusion. Whatever the Scorn know of Imaru's plans, it's enough to motivate them to enhance their power further in order to counter his moves. The pyramid should be continuously monitored, as the Scorn show no signs of slowing down. Visit the pyramid regularly to clear the area. So the Scorn were attempting to fuse themselves with the worms in order to enhance their power, and it's speculated that the caretaker might have been a successful trial of this ritual. Remember that when one consumes one of the worms, it ties them to darkness and requires that individual to endlessly kill and destroy to survive, an unending blood tithe in exchange for immortality. So this is the reason the Scorn are infiltrating the pyramid each week in the preservation mission, in order to counter the power of the Lucent Brood, which is being enhanced by Imaru and his plans. Savathun's ghost is Imaru, by the way. However, the biggest revelation of all that comes from this is that Rulk was doing this same plan of feeding worms to the Scorn well before the preservation mission became available, way before we raided the pyramid. And, well, you can go ahead and tell that because of the environmental storytelling. And yeah, take a look back inside the pyramid because, yeah, there's lots of things that look like this. You see inside that glass? I don't know if it's glass or ice, but there's tons of these pods. Some of them have worms, some of them have different sections of worms that have been cut into giant cross-sections. Some of the worm cross-sections are so large that you can walk through them. Remember Shaita, the worm in the middle of the raid? She is the source of all these worms, and remember where they're going? If the question was asked a very long time ago, originally they would have been going to the Hive. The pyramid in Savathun's throne world and the dark city set up nearby are all part of pyramid installations meant to be as breeding grounds for these worms so that the Hive could fuel their dark armies and feed more destruction and more worms to the newly birthed thrall. Now, however, it's clear that they are being fed to different groups of supplicants. Rulk has been using these larvae, these worms that came from Shaita, to feed subjugated Scorn. And just as he did with the Hive, this is giving them a degree of power and a degree of servitude towards both him and the Witness. The Scorn's own rituals were attempting to follow that of the Disciple, and more chillingly, if we're to believe what is speculated by the Hidden, some of these rituals were successful. We can even see within the glass, when you see strange figures there, if you look closely, there are 4 arms, something that is very much akin to a Scorn or an Elixni, although I doubt that it's a Fallen because of the fact that we see Scorn all over the place, and I don't understand how an Elixni would have ended up in the throne world. Furthermore, look at the very top, at the head. You can see a worm in every single one of these glass cases, a worm being fed to the Scorn. All these Scorn are frozen in animation, and it's something that doesn't quite make sense. Perhaps these are all failed experiments. Maybe these are the ones that went before the caretaker. Maybe they're in gestation. Maybe these are vital pieces of knowledge. But either way, it shows very clearly that Rhulk has been doing this for quite some time. The Scorn have been turned into a dark army of sorts, and Rhulk is the one that's made them do this. The only curious part of all this that remains is the speculation on the nature of the caretaker. Is it really a successful fusion of the worms and Scorn? If it follows in the footsteps of the Hive, then it's very lucky that we killed such a remarkably powerful entity in its relative infancy. Remember that the first of the successful fusions of the worms and the krill led to 3 hive gods, Oryx, Xivu-Arath, and Savathun, beings that were rightly considered gods and led to the deaths of billions upon billions of individuals. So, who knows what the caretaker might have become in time? At this moment it might simply have been another supplicant of Rhulk's, someone that was left in a duty of custodianship for the time being. But times change, people, and it was showing a degree of intelligence that was uncommon to most abominations. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I think it's fair to speculate that it's good that we killed this thing when we did. A lot of this, of course, is speculative, and a lot of the videos going forward are going to have a lot of speculative stuff, especially when the evidence board is concerned. But right now, I think regardless of where the lines lie, where the truth is, the one thing we can absolutely agree on is the fact that this is dangerous, and if this is anywhere close to the real plans of Rhulk and the Witness, then we need to be very much well aware of where the Scorn go next. I would think that one of the key questions going forward is not simply, is there another pyramid out there, somehow capable of creating more worms, but also, what happens next to the great leaders of the Scorn, and in particular, what I want to know, where is the Fanatic, where is Fikrul? Because I feel as though that is the only way now that we have a reasonable chance of dividing the Scorn. And even then, maybe it's too late. When you go into the Preservation mission, and even when you roam around the Throne World sometimes, you will still see major Scorn that are named the Fanatic's Chosen. Now maybe this is a holdover title from when they previously were the Fanatic's Chosen, or maybe Fikrul has joined the ranks of the Darkness. And if he has, then that really is troublesome. That means that the Scorn are absolutely allied to the Witness, and now they are truly a part of the Dark Army. There is nothing that we can do to sway them from the fight. All of this goes back to say that the Caretaker is an example of some really terrifying experiments that might have gone right for Rhulk and the Witness, and if they have continued unabated, or if there are more worms out there that have been able to feed the different armies of the Scorn, then we might be seeing more abominations just like the Caretaker out there at some other point. I don't know how many of Saita's children are out there. I don't know if somehow Yul or Aya or could be used in a similar manner, but regardless, this is a plan that has been put in motion, and the subjugated that stand with the Witness and Rhulk are something to be concerned about. So, with all of that being said, I hope you found this interesting. It's a lot more theoretical today, because that's the nature of a lot of the lore in Witch Queen, but hey, hopefully it was something of interest. Tomorrow we're going to be going over the Big Daddy Rhulk lore. Yeah, no, there's a lot. I've been trying to push that script back a little bit because there's a lot of stuff to write, and it might take an extra day. I'm not 100% certain, but we're going to try and make sure that we can keep daily content going. A quick side note at the very end, thank you so much for all the support. You guys have been absolutely incredible. Thus far, in the last 30 days, which does not include the start of the real Witch Queen period of time, which would have been the 21st, 22nd, yeah, we have made this the most successful 20 days worth of content on the channel in terms of views. We could be on track to crack a new record, and that would be incredible. So thank you so much, this is amazing, and yeah, I'm really glad that everyone is enjoying the videos. If you do want to make sure that you catch all of them, go ahead and hit subscribe, bell next to subscribe, all that typical stuff. If you enjoy them, go ahead and leave a like, and leave your own thoughts down below in the comments section. Do you think that Rhulk's Caretaker is a successful experiment? Do you reckon that it was fed a worm, or do you reckon that it's just a very chunky Scorn? As per usual though, do know that your viewership is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Bife. Per audacia ad astra. I'll see you, Starside.